Liquid. It's such an interesting type of matter. It repels and accepts each other, but all could be shaped in the form they are in, no matter what the circumstances are. If you think about it, we want to see the world in the degree of equality and equity, to give everyone the opportunity to succeed. We live in a world where classism exists, and particularly cities grow from this idea. So in a way, we go back to that analogy. Like liquid, in an ideal world, we want everyone to have purpose. But what if they are unable to? We were tasked to identify sustainability problems in Metro Manila. And one small image came into mind: BGC and everything around it.
Bonifacio Global City is a place that boasts of clean architecture, impressive urban planning, and a youthful vigor thanks to the many young professionals who call it home. But more than just a place for work or occasional night outs, BGC is building a solid reputation. It's an ideal place to live. Among various multi-million-dollar corporations, we thought that Ayala is the best choice to make this possible, since they already own the majority of BGC. And in addition to that, they are already known for being involved in multiple housing projects. Since most people who reside in BGC are posh and well off, our project aims to break the stigma and allow diversity in the city.
The concept really was how we could connect different people, how we could help and improve people's lives, and in general, how we could improve the city as a whole in one small area. And so the idea of having a mid-rise multi-use space was developed. We wanted to contrast the high-rise buildings in BGC to be able to create a space in a more perceptive and honest mindset. We knew that we were accommodating people who weren't really target demographics of the city, so we wanted to create a safe space for them to express.
Our social reconstruction project is built around the idea of a private and public partnership. The building is made to create relationships and interaction while keeping a degree of privacy and homeliness. We are building a broad demographic that also accepts non-residents and passersby so that we are able to create a dynamic and unique community that helps and promotes a positive identity to the city. Into our rehabilitation spaces, the Skid Row Housing Trust and the Children's Shelter in Cebu are our biggest inspiration in terms of conceptualizing programs for housing the homeless, the abandoned, and startups who are just getting started to venture in their careers.
Building an effective, sustainable building is the core of our project. We wanted to successfully build something that is truly sustainable. We found that the LEED certification was the staple of these kinds of buildings. So having skimmed through these requirements, we attempted to implement various sustainable concepts in our design. We wanted to implement passive design through our forms, material, and construction techniques.
The materials we chose were smart glass for the selected areas and then metal mainly for the purpose of reducing on-site labor, timeline, and construction waste. We have two types of metal which will be used for two different purposes. The first type of metal is stainless steel. This will be for framing since it's exposed outside wherein it will be susceptible to rain and oxidations. The second type is strain zinc for the perforated skin. We chose strain zinc for this due to its notable sustainability features and its versatility. Lastly, our building will be mostly built with hempcrete both on-site and off-site. To expand on hempcrete, hemp is used in many commercial and industrial products, and we learned that hemp can be used as an alternative for concrete. You can see that it's beautiful. It can also act as a regulator wall wherein it regulates the temperature and the humidity. Because its feature of being very porous, as it can take in humidity and release it. The R value of hybrid is R2 per inch, so we propose 6 inches thick walls for the exterior, so it's R12. With this, it's gonna be very comfortable during summertime.
The form of the building was inspired by the wind. Starting with two rectangular shapes, we formed it into some sort of a V, in which we split into 4 buildings, which acted as a wind funnel. Lastly, we added 2 middle structures to transform 2 buildings into one, now having 2 solid buildings for 2 types of demographic. The building was shaped like this really because we wanted to accept air all throughout the structure. These 2 middle structures were designed to accept airflow, so it acts like a funnel that ultimately spreads through the park and the living spaces. The building is designed through a semi-modular idea. The initial thought was to create a frame that accepts modules, and through this, we could cut off wasted materials and most importantly time, considering that these modules are built off-site. We wanted to embrace this building technique by allowing this building to be exposed with all of its raw materials. Our goal was to build fast and efficiently, and so we thought of using skins to enclose the frame that control and contains the airflow of the building. And with this idea, we successfully created detachable architecture that is useful in the end of its life cycle.
Moving on to our special programs, the rehabilitation building is intended to create a supportive community for the people living there. And the people who will be utilizing the building are the orphans, homeless, and financially unstable families. The main idea here is to really reconnect with the world for them to restructure their lives for a better future. For the rehabilitation building, we have communal event space where people gather or host an event. Next is a counseling area for those who need support and guidance, followed by educational space for the orphans, and also admin office, clinics, and a social space to interact with people. And then there's also dormitories, the rooms for the orphans, and of course the amenities for the orphans, which includes the shared bathroom and restroom. Next is the single housing for the homeless, and then the amenities for the single housing like shared kitchen and shared laundry room. And the last is the family housing for the financially unstable families. So for the design of our hallway, we shaped our corners into curves so it would look unique and feel exciting with the addition of the colors, which there are different colors for each hallway. Then the orphanage, we have 2 types of rooms and designed 6 to 8 beds per room so that they will have privacy, unlike the typical orphanage design where they are all in one big room. We wanted to make them feel like they are not in an orphanage. So for the single housing, upon entering the room, you'll have the kitchenette table on the side, then a private restroom, and a long table on the window that can be used as a chair, and also a drawer or closet below it.
On to the next building. The studio and residential building serves as an opportunity to support many of our artists and businessmen who may be starting up, as well as giving housing for our middle-class individuals and families. On the first floors, we see the lobby followed by the offices. On the sides, we see the exhibition spaces where artists from the building could freely rent out these spaces for exhibition. Moving on the first floor, we see single module creative workspaces and their communal restrooms. The rest of the floors on top serves as residential housing. The studio spaces were made quite simply to create more room for renovations and storage. On the other hand, the residential housing is similar to the family housing found in the other building.
The main idea of the park actually came from a cultural space called the Great Neighbors, located in Paris, France, where they accommodate migrants and the vulnerable to sell their products. The park consists of a middle open space for multi-use, some stalls, and an installation space for exhibition. The stalls provided are intended for business purposes, and people from the housing project are free to make use of them every weekend. People are encouraged to participate every weekend, and outsiders are allowed to wander. The curb feature in the park actually came from the skin of the building. The main idea of the park is reintroducing nature back into the city.
The benefits of 3Ps are taking care of people, acknowledging the planet needs by respecting its valuable resources, and aim to produce profit without waste. All are connected with one another. If one is not achieved, then other will also be affected. Let's say if the resources of the planet are not respected, then it would cause negative effect on the lifestyle of people. If lifestyle is affected, then the economy will go down since we are the one who runs the economy.
As much as we wanted to create a fully sustainable building in all strands, we failed to acknowledge the fact that it was too costly to make because of its additives. We failed to design an economically sustainable building, and truly it was relatively hard to balance all three. But in hindsight, we could have discussed it even furthermore, so that we could minimize all the gimmicks and focus on our priorities. However, we feel that we are proud to create and conceptualize this idea. Despite of our inconsistencies in pursuit of a truly sustainable building, we were able to think beyond architecture, to perceive design in such an intimate way, relating to a deeper understanding of people and the art of nature itself.